The wind moves differently across Heartland now. It carries the weight of years gone by, of moments missed, of love paused, and lives rebuilt. And then he steps back into that world. Borden. Not with fanfare, not with a declaration, but quietly, almost cautiously. Every eye, every heartbeat, every quiet corner of the ranch senses his return before words can catch up. This isn't a simple reunion. This is the beginning of reckoning, of old wounds reopening, of love being tested in ways it has never been tested before. For Amy, for the family, for all of Heartland, nothing will ever be the same. The first morning after Ty's return arrives without warning, quiet yet charged. The ranch awakens slowly, the kind of morning that makes you notice the stillness between the sounds, the rustle of feed, the clatter of buckets, the distant call of horses. Amy moves through her routines as if nothing has changed, but there is a tension in her movements, a subtle tightening around her shoulders, a hesitation in her steps. The house feels fuller, yet emptier at the same time. Each corner holds memories of absence, each familiar object a reminder of what was lost. Ty's presence does not announce itself loudly, but it lingers in the air, heavy and unavoidable, like a storm waiting on the horizon. He walks slowly, carefully, observing rather than interrupting. Every glance he casts is measured, every step deliberate. He does not rush to claim the life he once had. He knows that time has moved on without him, that the heart he left behind has learned new rhythms. Amy notices him immediately, but does not run. She does not greet him with relief or anger. She simply watches, her eyes measuring, assessing, feeling the weight of his return. There is no easy joy here. There is caution. There is history. There is the quiet question that neither is willing to ask aloud. Can the past return without breaking the present? The horses stir in their stalls, sensing tension, and the dogs shift restlessly at their feet. Even the land itself seems aware, as if Heartland has remembered its own heartbeat and now waits. Lou moves with her usual efficiency, her hands busy with work, her mind sharper than ever, yet her glances betray concern. She senses that her sister's heart is no longer solely under her protection. Something has shifted. She cannot control this moment. She can only witness it. Jack remains steady, the calm anchor in a world quietly tilting under the weight of unspoken truths. His eyes follow Ty, not with judgment, but with understanding. He has seen life pause and bend. He has seen hearts return and fracture again. He knows this reunion is fragile, but necessary. Lindy is the first to sense it, in a way only a child can. She approaches Ty cautiously, not out of fear, but out of curiosity. Her instincts recognize honesty even before history explains it. Her small hand reaching toward him carries more truth than years of careful avoidance. Amy watches, tense, unsure if relief or fear should rise first. But Lindy's acceptance is not naive. It is instinctive. It forces Amy to confront the walls she has built, the routines that have kept her steady but closed, and the love she thought she had tucked safely away. Each step Lindy takes toward Ty is a reminder. The past is present now, and survival alone cannot shield hearts from the pull of what was always true. Ty's voice is quiet, almost gentle, when he finally speaks. He does not demand acknowledgement, nor does he offer excuses. He carries humility and patience, each word deliberate, each pause weighted with understanding. He knows the power of silence, the intensity of absence, and the fragility of what remains. Amy listens, restrained, measured, her strength evident not in defiance but in careful attention. Every subtle expression, every pause, every choice not to speak or act carries significance. This is a reunion built on restraint, on emotional truth, rather than dramatics. The suspense comes not from confrontation, but from the potential of what could break or heal in the next moment. Across the ranch, this quiet storm reverberates. Lou senses the shift, but does not intervene. She has learned that protection is not always guidance. Jack observes, silent but aware, providing the necessary space for history and emotion to meet. Tim's humor, once a shield, softens as he notices Ty's restraint, his steady efforts, his refusal to disrupt the life Amy has fought to preserve. Presence without pressure is Ty's offering, and it speaks louder than words. As the morning stretches on, the house and ranch itself seem to hold their breath. Meals are quieter, conversations shorter, glances linger longer. Nothing is resolved, nothing is rushed, but an unspoken tension begins to settle. A tension not of anger, but of possibility. The family senses it, though none can name it aloud. The story is not about the return itself, but the consequences it brings. The cracks in old armor, the hesitation between love and fear, the testing of patience and trust. Amy moves through her day aware of every small shift, every unspoken emotion, every weight Ty brings simply by standing in the same room. By the afternoon, something subtle begins to emerge. The family notices that space can be shared without intrusion, that presence does not always equal pressure. Lou sees Amy standing firm, not weakened by grief, but tempered by experience. Jack recognizes the silent negotiation happening between two people learning to coexist with history as a companion, not an enemy. Tim begins to accept Ty's quiet reintegration, his efforts showing that respect and awareness can restore connection without claiming it. Lindy's comfort, her instinctive ease with Ty, becomes a quiet catalyst. It reminds everyone that truth can sometimes only be recognized through openness, innocence, and honesty. The evening settles over Heartland with a stillness that feels almost sacred. The sun dips low, painting the fields in gold and shadow, and every familiar line of the ranch is touched with quiet reflection. Amy stands on the porch for a moment, her hands resting lightly on the railing. She watches the horses grazing, the wind moving through the trees, the world continuing as if nothing has changed, but everything has. Her heart moves in rhythms that feel foreign, pulled between the life she has built in Ty's absence and the life that once existed, paused, waiting for his return. She is not panicked, she is not despairing, she is simply aware, and awareness carries weight heavier than any sudden emotion. Inside the house, the sounds of preparation and dinner mingle with silence. Lou moves between tasks, her mind turning over what she has seen today. She has always been protective, a sentinel for Amy, and yet she finds herself forced into an uncomfortable honesty. Protection is no longer control. She cannot dictate the emotional landscape, no matter how instinctively she wants to. Lou watches Ty carefully. She observes restraint, patience, attentiveness. She notes that his presence does not disrupt, that he does not claim, that he allows space to exist exactly as it is. Slowly, she begins to understand. Trust is not demanded. It is built, piece by careful piece. Jack sits nearby, reading a ledger but listening all the same. He senses the shifting tides in quiet, steady ways. History repeats itself in patterns, but it does not repeat identically. He watches Amy and Ty, noting the hesitations, the silences, the small gestures, each a signal, each an indicator of the unspoken. Jack understands that healing is not linear, that reconciliation does not arrive in a moment of drama, but in a series of deliberate choices, in the willingness to face discomfort and continue standing. His calm presence becomes an anchor for everyone, a reminder that observation can be as meaningful as intervention. Tim's humor, once a barrier, softens into subtle warmth. He notices Ty stepping lightly into the family rhythm, contributing without dominance, speaking without interruption, waiting without urging. Every small effort is measured, every action deliberate. Tim begins to see that patience can carry its own authority, that silence can create space for truth to emerge, that love is shown not in grand gestures but in steady presence. Tim watches, quietly approving, understanding that Ty's restraint is not weakness. It is a proof of character. And in that proof lies hope, slow growing and undeniable. Lindy, young and unburdened by history, moves freely around Ty, her movements and expressions natural and instinctive. She does not weigh the past, she does not measure absence. She reacts to honesty, to sincerity. Her comfort forces Amy to confront her own assumptions, her own fears. If Lindy can trust Ty, if a child can feel safety in the presence of someone returned, what does that mean for the adults who have held walls around their hearts for years? Amy feels a quiet tremor of recognition. The child's instinct is teaching her something she had forgotten. Love does not always demand perfection, and forgiveness does not always require explanation. As night falls, the family gathers for dinner, a meal laden with unspoken tension. Conversation flows in small, careful ways, punctuated by pauses that carry more meaning than words. The dynamics are delicate, balanced between curiosity and caution, between acknowledgement and restraint. No one rushes to fill silence. Silence itself becomes a tool, a teacher, a measure of respect. Ty participates modestly, neither seeking attention nor avoiding responsibility. He exists in the space, present but not overwhelming. Every glance, every nod, every gentle word builds a subtle bridge, not over the past, but beside it. Amy notices the subtleties more than anyone else. Each interaction, each gesture, carries a question. Can she allow herself to hope? Can she recognize love without fear? Can she stand alongside someone who once left, without clinging to the armor she has built? Her thoughts circle carefully around these questions, never settling, always shifting. And Ty, ever patient, does not press. He allows her space, waits for her pace, honors her process. That quiet patience speaks louder than any apology, louder than any explanation. Presence itself becomes his statement. The night deepens, and with it comes reflection. Amy retreats briefly to the barn, where the familiar scent of hay and horses offers comfort. She touches the railing of a stall, feeling the grooves worn smooth by years of routine. Memories of Ty's surface, unbidden, small, sharp, tender. She acknowledges them without judgment. They are part of her story, as much as the years spent waiting and surviving. Ty's return does not erase the past. It reframes it, asks her to see it differently, asks her to stand within it fully. And the emotional weight of that reframing is profound, unrelenting, necessary. In another room, Lou and Jack discuss quietly, voices low. They recognize the changes in Amy, subtle yet undeniable. They notice Ty's restraint, his careful presence, the way he allows space for uncertainty without filling it with answers. Jack remarks on the power of patience, of allowing life to unfold slowly rather than forcing resolution. Lou begins to see that strength is not in control, but in acceptance, accepting that Amy can navigate this reunion on her own terms. Their quiet conversation mirrors the larger truths of the ranch. Healing is neither sudden nor guaranteed, but it is possible when space, presence, and patience align. The morning after Ty's first night back feels different. There is a quiet hum in the ranch, a subtle tension that runs under every sound, the clatter of breakfast dishes, the murmur of conversation, even the low whinny of horses in the paddock. Amy moves through her day with careful composure, but the ease she once felt navigating routines has shifted. Every action carries a shadow of awareness, a quiet alertness that wasn't there before. Ty is here, present yet restrained, and that presence is a constant reminder of what has changed. It is not a burden of grief, but of possibility. And possibility is more unsettling than absence ever was. Ty, for his part, does not rush. He walks through the ranch, observes the daily rhythms, and contributes where needed without calling attention to himself. He speaks when necessary, quietly, deliberately, with an honesty that carries weight without pressing for forgiveness. His gaze lingers on Amy in ways that are careful but unavoidably intimate. He notices the small things. The crease of worry in her brow, the way she pauses before answering questions, the almost imperceptible tightening of her hands when memories rise. He does not intervene. He allows her to exist fully in the space between past and present, acknowledging the past without trying to rewrite it. Lindy continues to be the silent mediator, moving naturally around Ty, offering trust without hesitation. Her presence disrupts Amy's carefully maintained equilibrium, reminding her that the child's instinct can often see what adults cannot. Lindy's openness forces Amy to confront a truth she has long avoided. She has survived without Ty, but she has also been living half a life, protecting herself from what was real. That half-life allowed her to endure, but it also limited her capacity to fully embrace the present. Lindy's simple trust begins to crack the walls, and Amy feels the tremor deeply, though she does not yet act on it. Lou watches all of this with guarded concern. Her protective instincts are at odds with her growing awareness that Amy is no longer a child herself, that she has learned to navigate grief and absence with resilience and strength. Lou senses the subtle shifts in the household, the tension in silences, the careful glances exchanged, the small but deliberate moments of connection. She does not intervene directly, but she begins to realize that allowing Amy to face this reunion without interference is an act of trust in itself. That realization is difficult. Lou has always been a guide, a shield, a hand on the rudder. Now, she is learning that influence is not always about control, that sometimes the most powerful support is silent observation. Jack, as steady as ever, notes the quiet transformations. He has lived long enough to know that moments of calm often conceal the most profound changes. The way Ty integrates himself into the household, patiently, humbly, deliberately, signals that the past and present can coexist, but not without tension. Jack watches Amy's reactions, her subtle shifts in posture, her pauses in speech, the moments when her eyes flicker toward Ty and linger just a little too long. He recognizes that patience will be tested, that love must be rebuilt gradually, and that hearts, once hardened by loss, require careful tending. The day progresses, and with it comes small but meaningful interactions. Ty assists in routine tasks around the ranch, feeding horses, repairing fences, checking on animals, but he does so without ceremony. He participates fully, yet he does not attempt to reclaim a place he once held. Every movement is a statement of respect. Respect for the life that has carried on without him, respect for the careful balance Amy has maintained, respect for the space that each family member occupies. It is in these small, deliberate acts that the story builds suspense. Not through confrontation, but through anticipation. Anticipation of when, or if, hearts will open further, when walls will finally fall, when trust will be fully extended. Amy feels the tension keenly. Every glance, every gesture, every unspoken word carries significance. She notices how Ty's presence alters the rhythm of the day without forcing it. The meals they share are quieter, conversations measured. She realizes that nothing has changed, yet everything has shifted. Their world is the same, yet the emotional landscape has been remade in subtle but undeniable ways. That realization is both comforting and terrifying. It signals possibility, yes, but also responsibility. Amy must navigate not only her feelings, but the expectations of those around her, the presence of love returned, and the risks of allowing herself to hope again. Ty senses her awareness. He does not try to manipulate, cajole, or reassure. He waits. That waiting is not passive, it is active, attentive, and deeply respectful. In his restraint, there is a promise, not of immediate reconciliation, not of instant resolution, but of continued presence, of commitment through patience, of love expressed through actions rather than words. It is a slow, quiet approach, but one that carries weight and significance. Suspense builds not through conflict, but through the anticipation of Amy's next choice. Through the silent question, when will she allow herself to trust fully again? The household begins to adjust, subtly but unmistakably. Lou allows Amy space without imposing judgment. Jack observes and supports without interfering. Tim's humor softens, becoming a bridge rather than a shield. Lindy's instincts guide the emotional temperature, her innocence and openness offering lessons the adults sometimes overlook. Each member of the family senses that Ty's return is more than a moment. It is a test, a challenge, a slow-moving force that demands attention, patience, and courage. Even the land itself seems to respond. The sun dips lower, shadows stretch differently across familiar fields, the scent of earth and hay carries a new gravity. Heartland feels alive in a different way. Attuned to the quiet storms of emotion within its people, the audience is invited to notice these subtle shifts, to feel the tension between past and present, absence and return, love and caution. Every small detail, the tilt of Amy's head, the way Ty watches without intruding, the patience in Lou's restraint, builds the story's suspense. It is not a story of dramatic moments, but of emotional truths, quietly powerful and deeply human. By late afternoon, Amy finds herself alone in the barn again, reflecting. She traces her fingers along worn wood, feeling the grooves carved by years of care, survival, and routine. She senses Ty's presence even without seeing him, aware of the careful steps he takes to remain present, yet unobtrusive. Her mind turns over memories, hopes, fears, and questions. Can the past be welcomed without disrupting the present? Can love return without reshaping everything? These questions linger, heavy and unresolved, and it is in this lingering that the suspense grows. Heartland is not asking for immediate answers. It is asking for patience, for observation, for the courage to exist within complexity. The next morning brings a different kind of quiet. The light across Heartland is soft, but carries the weight of unspoken truths. The routines of the ranch continue, but they are colored now by awareness. An awareness that Ty's presence has shifted the balance in ways no one can ignore. Amy moves through the day with deliberate care. Her tasks are familiar, yet every glance, every gesture, every sound carries an extra weight. She is learning how to exist alongside Ty without losing herself, but that learning is neither simple nor safe. Even the most mundane moments feel loaded with possibility, and possibility is a kind of tension all its own. Ty continues to integrate himself into the household gently, quietly, and respectfully. He helps with chores, checks on animals, and engages in conversation without imposing himself. Every word he speaks is measured. Every pause is deliberate. He watches Amy, not with expectation, but with attentiveness, recognizing that her responses, her silences, her guarded movements, the small ways she tests the waters, are signs of both strength and vulnerability. Ty understands that patience is not passive,